Hello, everyone, and welcome to Game 2 in the series between Apollo's AK and yoeIMHas. Game 2 taking place here on Neo Planet S. Let's go ahead and take a look at the starting locations. AK has spawned as the red Zerg at the 2 o'clock position. Meanwhile, yoeIMHas has spawned as the blue Protoss here at what I'll call the 7 o'clock location. We are all tied up at one game apiece. yoeIMHas apparently having an extra game initially to start off as based upon the seeding. So AK quickly making up ground there. We are now all tied up one game apiece between these two players as AK really felt like and really looked like the superior player throughout that matchup. Reason being, he looked like the superior player. He was just playing very consistently. He was playing very solid, and he was constantly ahead in terms of macro. Has never established up his natural expansion, and by not doing so, he ended up falling behind. He traded extremely well early on, was able to take down a base, but without a base of his own to fall back on, it soon became 2 bases to 1 in favor of the Zerg, and that simply cannot last very long as a Protoss player. Taking a look at what now Haz is looking to do, he is going for a forge inside his own base. So this shows me, or this is telling me that he may try to warp in some pylons back here and then try and cannon rush his opponent. The reason being, he did not establish the forge very far out front here at this choke point, and normally you want to try and forge fast expand, protect your natural expansion. The reason why you would build a forge close to home, though, is that if you are not wanting to commit to an expansion that quickly, you can build things close to home. And by building things close to home, if the Zerglings do make their way inside your main base, you still have a little bit of protection and leeway if necessary. Probe now wandering around as we are going into a spawning pool here in the main base. So far, we are waiting for a Nexus at the natural expansion. And once we get that down, we will know where these players are going. The game seems to be a bit of a macro style. There is a probe still sitting off over here, and the probe knows that it's too late to try any tricky business. He knows that he cannot warp in a pylon and try to get in a couple photon cannons. That would just be a waste of resources at this time, as the Zerglings are already out on the field. Now the question will be, can we get enough gateways and photon cannons down in time to prevent these Zerglings from making their way inside the main base? Give me one moment. Alright, sorry about that. Let's go ahead and come back into the game. There we go. As Haz is just setting up his front door, and the Zerglings are going to be able to come in here. This is what I was talking about, the photon cannon not up in time. And perhaps one, if not two, Zerglings will get shot, but the Zerglings are now inside the base, and AK pretty much has free room to scout and figure out what exactly Haz wants to do. Now with two Zerglings, the most that he can really do is just stop mining for just a little bit. There are probes here, and the probes will be able to do a little bit of chasing as the Zerglings are trying to run around the map on the inside. You can see that the photon cannon just outside of range there, and these Zerglings and these probes are just going to be constantly chasing. Meanwhile, AK taking advantage of this opportunity with the little bit of delay in income by setting up a hatchery of his own. This is that third hatchery that I've been talking about. A lot of the TESL players were not risking to try and go for a third base. I didn't understand why. It looks like AK is going to be doing exactly that, setting up his third base, and now we'll have that 3 base to 2 advantage that Zerg players really need for the additional larva. Coming back around, we are going to take a look. Has scouted out this 3 o'clock location, and with that we may see a proxy pylon come in soon, but doesn't have to really worry. Warp gate tech is not done. You do not see that many probes, you don't see that many gateways either, so it's not really going to get heavily pressured. That means that there's still about a good minute to a minute and a half where AK can just freely drone, but he will want to get down his Roach Warren just a little bit earlier to react to whatever his opponent tries to throw at him here. We can see double gas now coming in the main base, single gas at the natural, as the Zergling is just running around inside here and doing laps. So far, the double extractors are here at the natural expansion. We are going to see a queen now being transferred here, as AK is setting himself up to be in a very good position in the mid game. These three bases should be very easy to defend. I am surprised that there aren't overlords in these positions here, common places for proxy pylons. When whatever direction you are expanding to as a Zerg player, you want to set up overlords to have an early warning system. That is one of the benefits of Zerg, is that as long as you know where your opponent is coming from and what they are doing, you can generally train up the counter units extremely quickly. Each hatchery can easily train up 7 to 10 units at a time, and if you see a large round of gateway units all of a sudden, just zealots and stalkers, as long as you have glial reconstitution, the roaches should be able to push that attack back. We are taking a look now at a warp prism making its way in, and I do believe the warp prism has that faster movement speed, 2.95 movement speed. And how fast is it going to travel, and where is it going to go? Better acceleration, better dropping power, as sentries and also probes being brought over. Now, I am a bit curious as to why the probes are being brought over, unless we are going to have some crazy play with photon cannons. What you can do is you can start warping in photon cannons as the power from the warp prism allows you to, provide pylon power, warp in the photon cannons, and then warp in the pylon in front of it. But beyond that, I don't know what Has really expects to do here. This is only one warp prism. He doesn't have that many gateways back at home. In fact, nope, what is this? He now has 5 gateways, a total of 6 now back at home, and he's gonna try and run in these units. The problem is that he has this here at the 12 o'clock position, and it is a very, very far walking distance to get in. The zealots are already gonna be on creep, and because of that creep, he knows what to expect. Overlords are now pulling over there. Zerglings are now being hatched up. There's a spine crawler, a second spine crawler now coming in, and the queen should be able to get in a lot of damage here. The drones can pull back. You can see that the zealots now trying to engage. The queen just pulling back here. Double spine crawlers, as we now see a massive warp in inside the front and the main base. A beautiful split prong, as there is a force field. Beautifully done. This is the pylon photon cannon strategy that I was talking about. I can't believe Has actually did this, as we are now seeing pylons inside the main base. Sentries with force fields. This is going to be rather painful. There is another force field there, and we now have 3 photon cannons inside the base. This is exactly what I was talking about. This is a definite cheese play, allowing the photon cannon extra time to warp in. And now what are we going to see here is this massive zealots inside destroying a whole bunch of spine crawlers, drones, and everything in the like. This is absolutely, absolutely critical that Has does enough damage with this attack while not falling here inside his main. A lot of Hydralisks are coming in. You can see that the Hydralisks and the Zerglings are coming in very strong here. And with this, this is a 2 bases to 2 right now. If the Hydralisks can take down this Colossus, it will pretty much be GG. The Zerglings are now trying to make their way over. The Colossus is pulling back here. You can see that the pylons and more units will be falling, but this one Colossus should be enough to hold off the attack. And this is exactly what Has needed to do. Hold off this attack and now finish off the rest of these Hydralisks. You can see another Colossus will be joining in. The Colossus really using that extended thermal lance range extremely well. No, not even having the extended thermal lance range, just using its range of 6 very well, compared to, I guess, the Hydralisks still are operating on a range of 5. Coming back in, Overseers, Zealot is on the inside here. The one Colossus, don't understand why you're chrono boosting out probes. You really need the second Colossus on the field, as we can see that there is just massive photon cannons here, or enough photon cannons here to cause a bit of a problem. Zealots now running in from the south side. AK looks like he will be able to hold this. AK looks like he will be able to hold this as the Zerglings and the Zealots are just trying to slice and dice their way through. Meanwhile, Hydralisk quickly focusing down that pylon, leaving behind a couple of photon cannons. No Guardian Shield, it didn't look like, and the Hydralisks have taken that over. Did Has do enough damage? 48 drones versus 33 probes, and more Colossus are still coming in. You can see perhaps a round of drones will be making their way back inside the main base. We are now going into the muscular augments for those Hydralisks. Groove Spines has not been completed, hence the reason why the Colossus were able to win out in that earlier engagement. You can see the Zergling quickly makes its way in. Extended thermal lance range finally being researched, as 3 Colossus should be enough to just punish AK at this point. We need to see more sentries. There you go. That is a lot of sentries. Colossus sentry pressure, and it is going to be very effective against the Zergling Hydralisk army that we currently have from AK. The one real problem, though, is that Has does not have any opportunity to actually move out from his base. If he moves out, he will quickly find that he will fall behind. You can see that the Colossus can walk up and down the cliffs here, so he is completely, a beautiful contamination onto the robotics bay to make sure that it actually extends the research time. It does take 125 energy, though. There's another contamination here. Yeah, the warp gate, I believe it's actually 75 energy. The warp gate, not that great of a call there, as you can see that the Zerglings are now trying to knock their way through on this front door. Sentries now coming in. Colossus now coming back over here. That is a lot of spine crawlers to hold off, as the Colossus will be making their way in, taking down all of those spine crawlers in just a matter of seconds. What's going to be happening as all the spine crawlers fall, and the Hydras are now pressuring inside. It looks like the extended thermal lance range will not get completed. Hydralisks are already there and will take it down. Meanwhile, the Colossus are still trying to push their way through, and it looks like it will be a base trade. Third base for a second base, and this Colossus Sentry army is still a force to be reckoned with. However, there is nothing inside the main, as AK is now absolutely tearing things up inside the main base. It looks like the Nexus will fall. All of the probes are pretty much down. Harvester count is 14 to 44, as the Colossus are now trying to win this war by themselves. Sentries are there to give a little bit of a hand, but without the extended thermal lance range, these spine crawlers are a bit of a problem. You can see what's going to be happening here. The extended thermal lance range absorbing or taking down a lot of those Zealots. You can see now the Colossus are pulling back just in time. But now that the Zealots are gone, there is no easy way to take down these spine crawlers here. Meanwhile, the main base has pretty much been destroyed. And Has, who executed a very, I guess, cute attack there with that warp prism, starting the production on those cannons and then following up with a pylon. I thought that would have been the death of AK, but AK, keeping a calm and cool head here, is now a slightly ahead. 112 supply versus 36. I guess you can say 4 times ahead here, as the Zerglings will be swarming out. There are no corruptors. That is the problem. No corruptors at all, as the Colossus are now making their way in. Sentries, what is this? A whole bunch of mutants now trying to make their way in. No Guardian Shield, and there is the GG. Apollo's taking, AK. Apollo's AK taking game 2 in this series, and now we have a 2-1 lead for AK. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed game 2. Please stay tuned for game 3.